Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're going to be taking a deep dive into the Technological Republic, a book that's making some pretty bold claims about the future of the West in our increasingly tech-driven world.
It definitely gets you thinking about how technology is changing everything, not just our gadgets, but like our values, our global standing, all of it.
Exactly, and one of the big questions it tackles right off the bat is, can democracies even keep up in a world where tech is everything?
A crucial question.
Yeah, the book argues that if the West wants to stay relevant, we need to be way more than just militarily strong or culturally influential. We need to dominate the tech landscape. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, the book makes a very compelling argument. It says that mastering things like AI, cybersecurity, even advanced manufacturing, those are crucial for the West's future. The authors suggest some key actions like investing a ton in research and development, attracting top tech talent, really fostering this culture of innovation.
It's like we can't just play defense anymore. We got to be on offense in the tech game.
But the book also knows it's not that simple, right?
Right. It brings up this concept of the technological sovereignty dilemma. It's basically this balancing act between encouraging innovation but also regulating it.
Yeah, we need to stay competitive globally, obviously,
Of course.
but not, at the cost of our values or security.
Exactly. You have to find that sweet spot.
So how do we walk that tightrope? What does that balance actually look like in the real world?
Well, the book gives some concrete examples. Think of regulations around data privacy, for instance. Europe's GDPR, that's a pretty good example. It aims to protect user data, but still allows those companies to innovate. Or think about the whole debate around ethical AI development. We're seeing this big push for guidelines, making sure AI is used responsibly and doesn't perpetuate biases.
Okay, so it's about setting boundaries, but not stifling progress, right?
Yeah.
But how does this technological sovereignty dilemma actually play out, like in real life? Can you give me a concrete example?
Think about the SolarWinds cyber attack.
Hmm.
That really exposed just how vulnerable our systems are.
Oh, yeah.
It showed how urgent it is to have robust cybersecurity, not just for governments, but for businesses and individuals too.
Yeah, that attack was a huge wake-up call, for sure. Suddenly, cyber warfare didn't seem so far-fetched. It makes you think, what if hackers could just take control of our power grids or banking systems, I mean?
It's a scary thought.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of scenario the book wants us to prepare for. It actually proposes this pretty ambitious solution. An International Technology Security Alliance, or ITSA. Imagine a global alliance completely focused on tech security, like a NATO for the digital age.
Wow, that's a bold idea. But is that even realistic? I mean, could something like that actually work?
Well, the book lays out some potential frameworks for the ITSA, but whether it's feasible, that's up for debate.
Yeah.
It would require a level of global cooperation we haven't really seen before. But, it does highlight how crucial it is to collaborate internationally on these issues. No single nation can tackle these things alone.
It feels like we're at this real turning point. Technology is reshaping the global landscape and the stakes are they're so high.
Absolutely. And the book doesn't stop at just hard power and cybersecurity. It also digs into how technology is changing our values and beliefs. Think about the role of social media.
Okay, yeah, let's talk about that. The book argues that social media, even though it connects us in some ways, it might also be dividing us, creating these echo chambers, and even fueling misinformation.
Yeah, it's a fascinating paradox, isn't it? We have access to more information than ever, yet we're often trapped in filter bubbles surrounded by people who already agree with us.
It's true, and it can feel like everyone's just shouting past each other online. It's like those heated arguments you see on social media where, does anyone ever actually change their mind? I don't think so.
It's rare, and the book suggests that this isn't just a coincidence. Algorithms are actually designed to keep us engaged, even if that means feeding us content that just reinforces our existing biases.
So it's like we're stuck in these feedback loops, constantly just reaffirming our worldview, even if it's, maybe a little distorted. It's a little unsettling when you think about it.
For sure. The book definitely raises some red flags about how social media might be manipulating us, even if it's unintentional. Makes you question how much control we actually have over the information we consume.
And the book doesn't just blame the technology itself. It also points to failures in education, right?
Yeah, you're right. The authors say we need to equip people with the critical thinking skills to navigate this digital world. They call it digital citizenship education.
So, like, what would that look like? Teaching people how to evaluate information critically, recognize bias, understand how these algorithms work.
Exactly. Think of it as building up your digital immune system.
Okay, yeah.
You need those antibodies. We got to be able to filter out the noise and tell fact from fiction.
That's such a great analogy. We're bombarded with so much information these days. It's easy to get totally overwhelmed. It's like we need a mental detox sometimes.
Right?
The book really makes you think about the responsibility we have, as individuals to be more discerning about the information we consume.
Absolutely.
And this kind of ties into another big issue the book tackles: privacy in a world of data collection. It seems like everywhere you turn, someone is collecting your data.
Yeah, it can feel a little invasive.
It really does.
And it raises this huge question: how much of our privacy are we willing to sacrifice for convenience or for safety?
Yeah.
It's a trade-off we all have to grapple with.
There's no easy answer to that, that's for sure. Makes you realize we need to be much more aware of what we're giving up, and what the potential consequences might be.
It's about making informed choices and demanding more transparency from those companies, those institutions that hold our data.
So we've covered a lot of ground here. From the need for the West to really step up its tech game to the impact of social media on our beliefs and our values. It's a lot to take in, but there's more to come, right?
Hmm.
The book also offers this vision for the future of the West in this technological age.
That's right. And it's not all doom and gloom.
That's good.
The book presents a hopeful but also realistic outlook. It's a really fascinating exploration of how we can leverage technology for good, while mitigating those risks.
Well, I'm definitely eager to hear more about that. So for all you deep divers out there, join us in part 2 where we'll explore the book's vision for the future of the West. Stay tuned.
Welcome back to our deep dive into the technological republic.
So we've talked about the challenges, but now I'm curious about, what about the potential solutions? The book lays out this vision for the future of the West, but it's not really about predicting the future, is it?
Right. It's more like providing a roadmap for how Western democracies can navigate this new landscape. The authors introduce this concept of technological republicanism, which basically means using tech to strengthen democratic values and institutions. So it's not about rejecting tech. It's about, harnessing it for good.
Okay, I like that. But break that down for me. What does technological republicanism actually look like?
Well, it involves a few key things. First, it emphasizes participation. It's about making sure that everyone has a voice in shaping the technological landscape, not just, a select few tech elites.
Right. We can't just leave people behind in the analog dust. How do we make sure everyone actually has a voice, though?
The book suggests investing heavily in STEM education and workforce training. It's about giving people the skills they need to thrive in a tech-driven economy.
So it's about leveling the playing field, making sure everyone has the opportunity to participate. What else does technological republicanism involve?
Another big thing is establishing strong regulatory frameworks. Think of it like setting up guardrails for innovation, making sure that technological development aligns with our democratic values.
So finding that balance we were talking about earlier, right? Encouraging innovation, but not sacrificing ethics or security.
Exactly. The book actually goes into specific areas where regulation is really crucial. For example, it stresses the importance of data privacy, algorithmic transparency, ethical AI development.
I remember reading about some of those solutions they proposed. They talked about creating a digital bill of rights to protect, individuals' online freedoms and privacy. Do you think something like that could actually work?
Well, the book admits that implementing those kinds of regulations, it's going to be tough. It requires collaboration between governments, tech companies, and civil society all working together.
That's a lot of moving parts.
Yeah, it is. But the authors argue that it's essential if we want to create a future where technology is empowering individuals, not controlling them.
Right, and that brings us back to that idea of international cooperation. The book really emphasizes that no single nation can solve these problems alone.
Exactly. It all comes back to that concept of the ISA, that International Technology Security Alliance. It's about creating this global framework for addressing the challenges and opportunities of the technological age.
It's interesting because the book seems to be saying that technological advancement and democratic values, they can actually go hand in hand. They don't have to be at odds with each other.
Yeah, that's the core of the argument. It's about reimagining the relationship between technology and democracy.
That's a powerful idea, but I'm curious, what did the critics have to say? Were there any weaknesses in the book's arguments?
There are a few criticisms worth mentioning. Some reviewers thought the book kind of oversimplified the relationship between technology and ideology. They argue it's not always this straightforward, cause and effect.
So technology might be an amplifier of existing social and political trends, but not necessarily the root cause of all our problems.
Right. But the critics point out that we have to consider other factors too, like economic inequality, cultural shifts, political polarization. Technology might make these things worse, but it didn't create them.
It's important to keep that in mind. You need that nuanced understanding of how technology actually interacts with these big, complex social forces.
For sure. Another critique is that certain sections felt a little repetitive, especially if you're already pretty familiar with the debates around AI ethics or data privacy.
Yeah, those are hot button issues that have been talked about a lot.
Yeah, so the book gives this good overview, but it might not have much new stuff for people who are already deep into those topics.
Okay, makes sense. What about the book's vision for the future? Did critics have anything to say about that?
Well, some reviewers thought that the book focused a bit too much on technological republicanism and didn't really explore alternative future scenarios enough.
So, like, they wanted more what ifs, more exploration of different possibilities, maybe?
Yeah, exactly. They felt like the book could have dug deeper into a wider range of outcomes, including some potentially negative ones, like, the rise of techno-authoritarianism, maybe the fragmentation of the internet. Thinking about those darker possibilities too.
It's always good to challenge assumptions and consider those different perspectives.
Definitely. And even with these criticisms, the Technological Republic offers a really valuable framework for understanding the challenges and opportunities of this, technological era we're living in.
It's like a roadmap, helping us navigate this uncharted territory.
And it reminds us that we're not just passive passengers on this journey. We have the power to influence where it's going.
Which brings us to the book's concluding message, and it's a powerful one.
It is. In a world where hard power and those soft beliefs, those are so intertwined with technology, the big question becomes, what role will you play in shaping the future?
It's a question that sticks with you, you know? It's a little daunting, but also pretty inspiring.
It's a call to action, It's about recognizing that we all have agency. We can make choices that shape how technology develops.
It's about being informed, engaged citizens who demand better from our leaders, from the technologies that are shaping our lives.
Exactly. And remember, the future isn't set in stone. It's a tapestry that's woven by the choices that we make today.
So to all our deep divers out there, this is your invitation to join the conversation. Think about how technology is impacting your life, your community, your world, and then ask yourself, what role do you want to play in shaping the future?
And if you're looking for a thought-provoking guide to help you navigate these complex issues, I definitely recommend checking out The Technological Republic. It's one of those books that'll stay with you long after you finish reading it.
Now stick with us because in the final part of our deep dive, we'll be wrapping up our exploration and sharing some final thoughts that will hopefully inspire you to keep thinking about these really crucial questions. Stay tuned.
Welcome back, deep divers. As we wrap up our look at the Technological Republic, it's amazing how much we've unpacked, from like those global power plays to the subtle ways tech influences what we believe. This book really makes you see the world differently.
Yeah, it's like a wake-up call, you know? Technology is not just some neutral thing. It's tied up with power, values. It's woven into the very fabric of our societies.
For sure. So let's try to pull out some key takeaways, those nuggets of wisdom that really hit home. First off, the book argues pretty convincingly that the West needs to, seriously step up its tech game. It's not just about military strength anymore, right? The book says mastering things like cyberspace, AI, even advanced manufacturing, those are key if we want to stay influential, stay secure in this century.
And that leads to what you explained so well earlier, the technological sovereignty dilemma, right? This constant balancing act.
Yeah.
How do we boost innovation, but also, keep it in check? How do we make sure tech serves us, not the other way around?
Exactly. And the book gives us those real-world examples, things like GDPR for data privacy, those debates around ethical AI. Those are all playing out right now.
The book also it digs into social media, right? Points out how these platforms, yeah, they can connect us, but they can also divide us, create those echo chambers, even spread misinformation. It kind of makes you think twice about how those algorithms are shaping our online world.
Yeah, it challenges us to be way more critical about the stuff we're reading online, to be aware of our own biases, how they get, amplified online.
And the book doesn't just leave us hanging with problems, it offers some solutions, right? Things like investing in STEM education so everyone's digitally savvy, putting clear regulations in place to make sure tech develops ethically.
And it stresses that global teamwork thing, that no one country can handle these huge challenges on its own.
Right, it's a good reminder that we're all in this together, facing this future shaped by technology, and we got to work together to steer it in the right direction.
And that brings us back to that question the book leaves us with. It's a powerful one, you know. In a world so intertwined with tech, what part will you play in shaping what's next?
It's a question that kind of makes you stop and think, you know?
Yeah.
Are we just going along for the ride with technology, or are we actively involved in shaping how it develops, how it impacts us?
It's about realizing we're not powerless, that the choices we make, they actually matter. And together, we can push for a future where technology benefits everyone.
It's a call to action, to think critically, have those tough conversations, demand better from our leaders, from the tech that shapes our lives. Exactly. And don't forget, the future isn't set in stone. It's built on the choices we make today. So to all you deep divers out there, this is your chance to join the conversation. Think about how tech's impacting you, your community, the world, and then ask yourselves, what role do I want to play in building the future? We hope you enjoyed this deep dive, and we'll catch you next time.